What is up, YouTube? It is Onion Bomb here, and welcome back to another Honkai Impact 3rd reaction video. Today we're back on the all lore and the animation playlist. It's been a while for this playlist. It feels like it's been a bit. Not really sure what happened. I just have kind of been like just getting just slowing down on videos in general, trying to get caught back up. I have some some busyness going on, but hopefully we'll get back to a good rhythm soon. I think I said this last time, with the but about like sorry being slow for the Honkai stuff, but yeah, this next video. This not get too fast into it, but this next video is everything that happens on the moon in 20 minutes. Honkai story recap. We have a few long ones up ahead, I think, like 20 17-minute videos, stuff like that. So I'm not actually sure how many videos I'm gonna watch this time, but we're gonna just play and see where
dreams about Kevin
the
fighting
story
an imaginary
goes.
construct. She wakes up in an unfamiliar place and doesn't remember how she got there. She tries to reach out to Dark Cele, but cannot communicate with her, although she can still feel her presence. The girl meets Sora, who tells her that they are on the moon in a place called New Atra, and that two other Valkyries woke up before her and went to explore the area. Cele follows a trail of defeated monsters and meets up with Durandal and Li Sushang. Durandal thinks that the dream Cele had was actually a message that was mistakenly transferred to her subconscious when she was teleported on the moon, and that all the events happening here are probably related to Project Stigma. The Valkyries run into Jackal, who tells them that Project Stigma is already happening and that Kevin doesn't need her or Word Serpent anymore. They learn that Herr, who is both a human and a Stigma, is behind the project this time. After Jackal leaves, they investigate the bridge that...
I'm not gonna lie, Sora, Jackal, these are a lot of characters I'm hearing the names for the first time.
Through the mountain area that has its path blocked because of some strange space around it. Durandal points out some weird readings around Cele with her genius device and asks her to come closer. Because the space on the moon was overstabilized, Durandal was unable to access Sumeru. But since the area near the bridge was an unstable space, and because of the strange wave that Cele can produce due to her constitution that is adapted to the Sea of Quanta, she was able to teleport them inside the bubble universe. Schrödinger tells them that the AE and Schicksal bases on Earth are still operational and that they may be able to use the smaller bubble universes around the moon to connect to the Sea of Quanta and find their way back home. While exploring the Sea of Quanta, Cele witnesses the memories left behind by Dr. May and Prometheus, which talk about the ruins on the moon being more than 200,000 years old. Durandal realizes that Cele can understand the memory projections, so they decide to send Sushang ahead to explore the bubble universes, while having Cele follow her from behind and analyze the information. We see more memories of Vilvi, Dr. May and Prometheus, and even learn that Pardo sacrificed herself to allow Prometheus to hack the Herrscher of Finality. Cele is approached by an individual calling herself Passing Female Lead A, who tells her that because these bubble universes exist on the moon, they won't be able to return to Earth through them, but they might find some familiar people inside them. Kiana wakes up in the Sea of Quanta. After witnessing some strange apparitions, she discovers that her Herrscher powers are no longer working. She meets up with Bronya, and as they talk, a unknown wheel keeps giving them subliminal suggestions. They notice that the quantum shadows have gathered around a crack in the space, most likely engaging in combat with someone on the other side. Bronya suggests that she and Kiana split up, and while she will distract the quantum shadows, Kiana should try to find a way to get to the other side and get some help. Kiana manages to break through and falls into another part of the Sea of Quanta. Her fall is interrupted by Mei, who turns out to be the one being attacked by the Quantum Shadows on the other side. After the long-awaited reunion, Mei tells Kiana and Bronya about her and Project Stigma and points out that she also felt that some kind of power was guiding her through the Sea of Quanta. After a while, they finally find a portal that can get them out. Meanwhile, we see Senti emerging from the Sea of Quanta into a bubble universe of the moon from 50,000 years ago. Everything is frozen in place and Senti senses a strong emotion of hope left behind by the people of the bubble universe that came from their belief in Dr. Mei. At first, Senti does not recognize her and is mad at Dr. Mei because she gave up and Senti felt that she betrayed the people's trust. After that, we see the girls listening to Senti while she exaggerates her impressive achievements. While in the Sea of Quanta, Mei and Senti were guided by beacons planted by Dr. Mei, while Bronya and Kiana were guided by ideas planted in their heads by the Herrscher of Sentience. Dr. Mei tells them that she is not the real Dr. Mei and that this is just a bubble universe that was peeled off by the Herrscher of Finality 50,000 years ago and that she agreed to let Word Serpent use it as an exile place for the Herrschers. Dr. Mei offers a deal in which she will help the girls return to the real world in exchange for them helping to save the bubble universe. She brings Kiana and Senti to see the remains of the Herrscher of Finality and tells them that Project Stigma is reliant on the authority of Finality. She shows them a bridge that connects to an entire separate bubble universe where Prometheus is trapped. Because the seal on their Herrscher powers is psychological, Dr. Mei riles up Senti to beat up Kiana and weaken the seal inside her mind. After their fight, Kiana is able to use the Edge of Taishuan to materialize the bridge and connect the two bubble universes. Kiana, Mei and Bronya walk over to the other bubble universe to search for Prometheus. Prometheus tells them that they found a dying husk mysticism and that they could use its link to the imaginary as an anchor point to link the bubble universe to the imaginary tree and save it. While approaching the location of the husk, Durandal connects to Kiana's Herrscher core through Sumeru. Back on the moon, Fu Hua finds Kevin as he gazes upon the remains of the Herrscher of Finality. He tells Fu Hua that he comes here on this day every year because of a promise he made with Dr. Mei. Both Durandal and Dr. Dr. Schrödinger, are concerned about Dr. Mei's plan, saying that her plan might destroy the bubble universe instead of saving it. They confront Dr. Mei about it, and she admits that she lied to them. The bubble universe will fuse with the real world.
Dr. Mei and Mei, side by side. Under David, hey, you look like me. You kind of look like me. No, you look like me.
And disappear anyways, but Project Stigma might be already done by that time. Following her plan, we'll speed up the process and let them leave in time to stop it, but will also cause the demise of the bubble universe. For this to work, Dr. Mei wants Mei to enter Kiana's mind and completely remove the restraints on Kiana's Herrscher powers by force. Inside Kiana's mind space, Mei and her fully reconcile after the events that happened in Nagazora, after which they are brought face to face with the restraints on Kiana's powers. These are manifested in the form of Husk Nihilus, but the two Herrschers defeat it quickly and Kiana regains her powers while Mei regains half. They return and try to pursue Dr. Mei to find a better solution, but she doesn't want to change her mind and urges them to respect her decision. She then tells Mei that as Herrschers of Human, who inherited Elysia's will, it's their duty to stop Project Stigma and find a better solution for humanity. After Kiana, Mei and Bronya defeat Husk Mysticism, they return back to reality where they reunite with Durandal, Li Sushang and Sele. As they discuss about Kevin, Senti suddenly senses that Fu Hua is fighting him and she disappears to go help her. Confused, the rest of the group soon realizes what's happening. As the bubble universe is about to disappear, Dr. May tells Prometheus about the promise she made with Kevin to spend the anniversary of their meeting at that spot, and that's why she wanted the merging of the bubble universe with reality to happen on this day. She believes that humanity's will to never change and push past every obstacle will be its salvation, unlike Prometheus, who thinks that the stubborn and irrational thinking will be its downfall. In the end, the bubble universe disappears, but Prometheus is saved by a mysterious person that introduces herself as Mistelin Shariak by engraving its data into a stigma.
Chapter 33.
The girls descend into the crater of finality, while Sele remains behind to keep an eye on the people of New Atra. Meanwhile, Fuhua fought Kevin in her active Honkai reaction form, but couldn't last more than 3 minutes. Kevin tells Fuhua that he and Su kept some things hidden from her. The history of human civilization is a 50,000 years old cycle that always gets reset by the Herrscher of Finality, who has authority over time. The only difference between the two eras being that the current era had external factors from the previous one influencing it. Despite all of that, Fuhua doesn't give up and wants to prove Kevin that the ember of humanity is still lit and it didn't lose its will to fight. While descending into the crater, Kiana and the rest find themselves trapped into a peculiar space that grows indefinitely. Durandal thinks that the reason behind it is the opposing relationship between Herrschers and Stigmata Awakened. That being the case, they decide to separate and see what happens. Durandal and Isushang notice that they cannot contact the three Herrschers anymore, and Dr. Nanodesu explains that the difference between Herrschers and Stigmata Awakened is that the former push things to the extreme, causing destruction, while the latter pull things together and create something new. Stigma Awakened are like spiders, and Project Stigma wants to create a weave of webs so large that it can bind and absorb finality. Because both Herrschers and Stigma Awakened were in the same place, the space was stabilized and trapped them inside. She also adds that because Herrschers function similarly to planets that can cause a gravitational pull in space, when you distance yourself from them, time will move faster, and that's why they couldn't get into contact with them. Durandal and Lisushang explain the situation to the rest and tell them that they figured out a way to return to Earth by walking through imaginary space. Because of how Project Stigma works, information from Earth is sent to the Moon, where it is processed and transferred back to Earth. Since they are Stigma Awakened, they can use Project Stigma to hitch a ride back to Earth's imaginary space. Dr. Schrödinger also finds some kind of wormhole near the wreckage of finality that Kiana and the rest could use to return to Earth. While leaving, Dudu and Sushang meet I Lambda, who explains that because of Project Stigma, the time around Earth become non-linear, allowing pseudo-time crystals to form and giving her the ability to dream about every possible future of Project Stigma. Kiana, May and Bronya escape the imaginary space and descend into the crater. Herr appears before them and reveals that she is the crystallization of the Shariak Stigma and a new species of humans brought forth by Project Stigma called Forms. The human...
But every time I go to record or stream or something, there's this gnat that keeps flying in my face.
Creatures that attack them in the imaginary
Trying
space
to watch.
were seeds of ideas. Artificial life forms temporarily
Seeds of
staying in an
ideas.
incomplete state due to the project not being done. The purpose of Word Serpent is to preserve civilization by sacrificing the current humanity. Since ideas are not tied to individuals, forms can inherit them and replace humans to carry on civilization past the point of the samsara cycle. The girls reject her views, so she gives up in trying to pursue them and removes all the restraints on their Herrscher course, but the core of reason rejects Bronya for some reason. Yeah, I know that was bad. The trio confronts Kevin about the truth behind finality, and he tells them that finality is an extraterrestrial civilization that seeks other civilizations to embrace them. It sends Herrschers to force the revolution, but it fails every time, so the Herrscher of finality resets the cycle and it tries again. Kevin wants to test their resolve, so he fights them, but the Herrschers are pushed back. Fu and Senti save them by using the Star of Eden to create a pseudo-black hole and trap Kevin inside. Before the rest can do anything, Hare puts them inside another dream. On the surface, Cele is worried, so she descends into the crater to look after the rest. She regains her connection with Dark Cele.
Hare, the name sounds familiar, but I didn't really recognize her design. It was... right there.
Returned after she was taken away by Hare.
Or I could wait 2 seconds.
It is revealed that she is also a form born from Cele's stigma. Inside the pseudo-black hole, Fuhua is passed out. Kevin tells Senti that he still hopes that the people of the new era will find a better solution because he also believes that Project Stigma is the worst plan. Bronya wakes up in a space that looks like the crater of finality. She sees the image of Welt Joyce and follows it to different memory fragments belonging to the Herrscher of Reason, while also reuniting with Kiana and Mei. Kiana believes that Anti-Entropy already has a plan on how to fight finality and counter Project Stigma. She reveals that the battleship from Chapter 1 was sent by Anti-Entropy and the letter inside was written by Dr. Tesla. Whatever the plan was, Kiana thinks that it had something to do with finality, but Tesla admitted that a lot of improvements were needed, so they postponed it. The girls find a memory belonging to Carl Gustav Jung that also includes Emma Planck. He was the first one of the...
Hang on, I want to read that.
Carl Gustav Jung.
In real life, he was the founder of it. Oh, the irony.
That also includes Emma Planck. He was the first one of the 300,000 people absorbed by the Core of Reason during the first Honkai eruption. Because of Project Stigma, the Core of Reason has disintegrated on a physical level and all the 300,000 souls are scattered around. Unlike Mei and Kiana, Bronya is not a ascended Herrscher. Since Joyce used the power of the 300,000 minds to take control of the core, it never had the chance to unlock its full potential.
We might just be making up characters at this point, because who is Joyce, bro? I'm not getting, maybe my mind just like is completely blanking out, or I just never saw them through the stuff I watched so far, but I swear I learned like 5 new characters in this video alone. I guess I haven't like really like seen too much of the moon stuff, so I guess it makes sense, but I don't know, I watched like the character trailer stuff and the battle suit trailers. I don't know.
Bronya and tells her that
there's always more to learn.
Get her hands on the power of the Herrscher of Reason. Prometheus argues that humanity's greatest strength is in narratives. Both Project Stigma and the Herrscher of Reason use human ideas and give them form. Because of that, the Herrscher of Reason's powers are the perfect way to fight Project Stigma. The only issue is that this also applies the other way around. For Project Stigma, which can collect the ideas of 7 billion people, 300,000 is not that much at all. Since Prometheus was designed to be an AI that can be attached to a Herrscher core and become a divine key, Void Archives, it offers to help Bronya change the composition of her core to force a simulated metamorphosis and free the 300,000 souls from Project Stigma's control. Bronya accepts, and Prometheus guides her to uncover the memories that Hare planted inside the core. They advance to a Siberian landscape full of remnants of destruction left behind by the second eruption. There, Bronya sees Hare in the middle of a battlefield full of wrecked mechs. The confused white-haired girl finds out that the mech unit was sent to retrieve the Abyss Flower, but something caused their demise. She stumbles upon the Divine Key, which is...
Her drip kinda reminds me of like, I think like the Herrscher finality for Kiana. Not like completely 1-to-1, but same like color scheme and some
Tainted
similarities.
by a familiar blood. Ado balanced the Shariak bloodline's opposing abilities of purifying and strengthening Honkai energy in Cecilia's body. Cecilia broke that balance when she used the Shariak holy blood to purify the Honkai corruption during the second eruption, so when Her was born from her stigma, she was left only with the destructive Honkai abilities. After going through several memories, Bronya learns more about Her's past and her suffering. In the end, she realizes that Her planted too many ideas inside the core for her to be able to strip them one by one. Seeing that she cannot win, Bronya surrenders and gives Her complete control over the core of reason. Back on the moon, Her recalls a memory in which she found a dying woman that was pregnant. To save her, she awakened her stigma, and to her surprise the woman survived the process. The name of that woman was Alexandra Zaychik, Bronya's mother. She was also the person who gave her the name Mistalin Shariak. After a while, Mistalin tells her that the child will not survive because of her stigma. Hearing that, Alexandra is prepared to do anything for her child, even if she has to sacrifice her own life. After a long conversation, Mistalin chooses to respect her wish and puts Alexandra's stigma back to sleep. As the woman prepares to tell her something, an imaginary disturbance takes Mistalin away into the stigmata space because her form was still unstable at that time. Mistalin returns to reality 3 months later. After searching to no avail, she approaches Grey Serpent, willing to join his organization if he finds and checks on Alexandra for her. He agrees to help with the condition that Mistalin will do him a favor in the future. 1 year later, Grey Serpent and Mistalin stand in front of Alexandra's grave. As expected, she was not able to survive, but the child was born and well. Grey Serpent tells her that when Project Stigma is complete, she will be able to transcribe her own data, allowing her to be reborn as a new life form that will not be bound by her curse anymore. Since Bronya surrendered the core to Project Stigma, she can break through the memory space and return to the moon. Her explains that her actions are born from jealousy towards Wealth Joyce, who has a similar existence to her, but received love and admiration while she was forced to live with a curse and suffer. She gives back the empty core to Bronya because the 300,000 miles...
Oh, wait. Actually, wait. The Welt Joyce. Was that Welt? Or was that some... I don't know. I don't know at this point.
Project Stigma. Since Bronya is also one of the 300,000 souls, she wakes up the core by herself and regains her powers. Kiana and Mei emerge from the memory space and see Fu Hua unconscious on the ground, while the pseudo-black hole created by the Star of Eden was already gone. Bronya fights Her by herself and gets the edge, but Her uses 300,000 false ideas to trick the limitations of the core, rendering Bronya powerless. Forced into a corner, Bronya is able to collect and transform the 300,000 souls from the core of reason to achieve metamorphosis and become the Herrscher of Truth. Bronya figured out that Her was guiding her exactly to this result, and she reveals to them that she is no longer the original Mistalin Shariak that Bronya saw inside her memories. Fu Hua wakes up while Senti guides Cele to the rest of the group. Kevin already left the moon to implement the next step of Project Stigma and told Senti about a Stargate that can take them back to Earth. The Stargate is damaged, but now that Bronya is the fully awakened Herrscher of Reason, she can repair it. In the meantime, Her reveals to Prometheus that she never wanted to take over the Herrscher of Reason's powers, nor does she have any ill will towards Wealth Joyce, since she's a new existence that only has the previous Her's memories, but cannot empathize with her feelings. She only wanted to help Bronya as a final act of goodwill towards her old self and respect for Alexandra.
Interesting, a lot there. So yeah, I think Welt Joyce might be like someone else, perhaps like Joyce, and then maybe like another. Was that related to Welt somehow, some way? I'm actually not entirely sure. But the hair boss fight, I think, if there's a hair boss, I think I remember that. That started to look familiar. I don't know, when she was just like a character, I didn't really like recognize her too much, but I do remember watching the boss fights, and that I think that might have been a pretty cool one. But yeah, some character names I feel like I were kind of new as well, but very interesting. Definitely interesting about Bronya and her mom. Yeah, interesting story there. Yeah, that was a really good recap of things. Yeah, the cool stuff, honestly. Next up, we have the unexpected truth behind stigma. Sure, stigmata. Yeah, stigmata. Honkaiimpact theory. All right, is this? We got more Homu Labs. Before, yeah, I thought of something. You know, if Otto were to get like insurance, no matter what it would be, would it be auto insurance? Or like, yeah, so stupid. Like, if he were to get home insurance, it's still auto insurance. Auto insurance if it was for cars. So let's get back to it.
People have been curious about stigmata since the beginning of Honkai Impact 3rd. What are they? How do they work? How do people get them? Why are they so hot? What was in Hoyo's mind when they designed the Hana set? Now that we are learning more about Project Stigma, it is suggested that stigmata are much more important than we initially thought. Because of that, I came up with a theory that finally solves the mystery behind stigmata and why are they so important. If you're curious, keep watching cause I'm about to blow your mind. Also, before I begin,
I'm
stigma
curious.
equals 1, stigmata equals multiple. There you go, you're welcome. Stigmata are a product of the previous era's biotechnology. They are engraved into the DNA of every human in the current era, and they manifest in the form of a tattoo-like marking on the bodies of those who have them. Their purpose is to improve the wielder's control over Honkai energy and increase their Honkai adaptability. As time passed, the stigma gene inside humans has diluted and very few are capable of awakening it. Not only that, but the majority of people would die if they were to get one because their body wouldn't be able to handle the Honkai energy. In real life, the word stigma can have two different meanings. A stigma is usually a mark of disgrace associated with a particular circumstance, quality, or a person. It's a symbol of shame and dishonor. Think of it how slaves used to be branded in the past to strip them away of their human status. When you think of stigmata in this context, the game becomes pretty disturbing. The other meaning comes from Christianity. Stigmata are marks corresponding to those of Jesus Christ's body when he was crucified. The most common representation is in the form of the nail marks in the palm of his hand. The same marks appeared on the bodies of various saints in Christianity, and they are said to be a mark of divine favor. If I were to draw a line between the stigmata in Honkai Impact 3rd and their meaning in real life, I think that the Honkai devs were more inspired by their depiction in Christianity, but you can make an argument for both. A mark of shame put on the Valkyries to symbolize that they are not humans anymore, just some weapons meant to fight the Honkai, and also a divine blessing, granting those who awaken them power beyond imagination. Stigma also represents a connection with God or a higher being. In the context of Honkai Impact 3rd, that God is the imaginary tree itself. There are three types of stigmata. The direct translation for the first type would be legendary stigmata, but that sounds really stupid. So I'm gonna call them Herrscher stigmata or true stigmata. These are the original stigmata that form on the body of a Herrscher. Yes, in case you didn't know, a Herrscher has both a core and a stigma. If the core is the faucet through which the Honkai energy is brought from imaginary space to reality, a Herrscher stigma is believed to be the tool that lets them control it. After capturing and studying the stigma on the bodies of multiple Herrschers, Mobius came up with the prototype for what we now call natural stigmata. This prototype was later perfected by Dr. May. Natural stigmata can manifest in multiple ways. They can awaken in only one individual, like we've seen with Adam, Li Sushang, or even Cele to some extent. Her case is a bit more complicated. She technically has the stigma of the Herrscher of Death, but she's not a Herrscher. So she basically has a Herrscher stigma that symbolizes that she has been chosen to become a Herrscher, but the Gem of Serenity, which is the core for the Herrscher of Death, is inside Kiana. So yeah, anyway, we've also seen that natural stigmata can be passed down through bloodline, like the Kaslana family stigma. Even though all Kaslanas are able to use it to some extent, we've only seen one instance in which the stigma has fully awakened, and that is with Durandal. The last type are the artificial stigmata. They were developed by Schicksal in the current era in an attempt to copy and mass produce the effects of natural stigmata. Artificial stigmata are way less effective and are used by Valkyries with lower Honkai adaptability to improve their control over Honkai energy and let them fight. They have many negative effects on the body as they greatly reduce the lifespan of those who have them. Himeko is a great example of someone that used artificial stigmata to fight. The reason why they are so ineffective is because they are basically a copy of a copy, since natural stigmata are just a copy of the Herrscher stigmata. Hey, I want to remind you that just like how stigmata can manifest on people's bodies in Honkai Impact 3rd, you can also manifest more of my future videos on your timeline by hitting that subscribe button and giving this video a thumbs up. With the dawn of the final arc of part 1, some crazy revelations are implied with how Project Stigma operates and the philosophical analogies used by the characters to describe various concepts. One such analogy is Plato's cave. I mean, I guess that in the context of the game is Mobius's cave, since she brought it up way before Plato existed. This thought experiment goes like this. Imagine a couple of people locked up in a cave. Behind them, there is a fire. The people cannot turn back to look at the fire, but they can see the shadows cast by different people and objects that pass in front of the fire. Their entire reality is represented by the shadows cast on the wall. They are unaware of the true forms of the objects and the people from the other side. One of the many interpretations of this thought experiment is that our reality is just a shadow projected on a wall. Our individual consciousness is just a projection of a true reality that exists on a higher dimension. This leads us to another philosophical theory from Mobius, the theory of forms. If you played chapter 31 EX, you might recognize this word. It is brought up by the Wheel of Stigma to refer to people that have awakened their stigma, like Durandal. The Wheel of Stigma tells us that forms are the opposite of Herrschers. The word may seem very weird at a first glance, but if you understand the philosophical meaning behind it, it makes a lot of sense. According to Plato, a form represents an ideal state of a concept. He believed that forms should be used as a reference for everything, and that only by striving to achieve an ideal we can grow as human beings. This is why stigma awakened are called forms. They represent an ideal of humanity. A human that awakened their stigma has complete control over the flow of Honkai energy in their body. They are basically perfect humans that can live in harmony with the Honkai, and the regular humans are just a shadow cast on the wall. So, how are Stigma awakened capable of controlling the flow of Honkai energy inside their bodies? How does a Stigma work? Well, in order to understand this, we need to tackle the concept of imaginary numbers. Imaginary numbers are used in math to solve complex equations and are represented by the letter I. They were thought unapplicable in physics since, unlike math, physics deals with the real world. That is, unless you apply them to quantum physics. In quantum physics, there is a process called quantum entanglement. If two subatomic particles are entangled, that means that they will always move in opposite directions, no matter where they are situated in space. If, hypothetically, you take the two particles and bring them to opposite corners of the universe, that would still apply. Using classic physics, that would be impossible because we know that nothing is faster in the universe than the speed of light. So the particles wouldn't be able to communicate their position to each other because they are light years apart. But with the help of quantum physics, this suddenly becomes possible. It is believed that for the two particles to be able to communicate under those conditions, they must exist in a higher dimension as a single entity. And this higher dimension is called an imaginary space. Imaginary spaces are how imaginary numbers are translated from math to physics. They are spaces that we have no idea about, but we know that they must exist somewhere beyond our own world for the quantum entanglement to make any sense. And, as you might have guessed, this theory is the foundation of the imaginary tree in the Honkai universe. It also coincides with what Ado said during the Colosten arc, that for us, the only way to perceive the imaginary tree is through the passage of time. But in a higher dimension, the concept of time doesn't exist, and that's why two objects in quantum entanglement can communicate with each other instantly, even if they are many light years apart. This tie, again, with another theory brought up by Dr. May. Understanding these theories and philosophical processes is important for Stigmata to make sense. After all, Honkai is just a mess of quantum physics and pseudoscience that blends together and creates an even bigger mess. According to quantum physics, the reality we perceive is just a byproduct of consciousness. Think about this way.
This is crazy. We got quantum physics. We got like this is just crazy. Like this is
somewhere in a remote forest with nobody around, a tree falls down and makes a strong noise.
Does it make a noise?
Nobody to hear the sound. Did it actually exist?
You know, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what this is gonna be. Wait. I hate that one. I hate that one. I don't know, like, cause yes, it made a noise, and just because you don't hear it, like, it just because that no one heard it doesn't mean it happened. Like, I mean, maybe, like, I don't know. It's like, it only makes a noise when, like, people are around. Like, what about trees? I don't know. Like, like, I don't know. I've always, like, hated that, I forget the wording. I think you just said it too.
So, if reality is a byproduct of our own consciousness, then why does every single individual perceive reality in the same way? There are billions of us. Surely there are bound to be differences. And here's where the common soul theory comes into place. According to this theory, we perceive reality in the same way because, like the two subatomic particles that are entangled, we all exist as a single...
Not gonna lie, I think you learned more in this Honkai video than a science class.
In a higher dimension. This means that our individual awareness is just a byproduct of a universal consciousness that is projected on a lower dimension. In a philosophical sense, you can say that humans are the imaginary tree itself. All this time we were fighting the Honkai, but we never realized that we are the Honkai. Okay, joking aside, you can see how all the quantum physics and philosophy kinda blends together into a single point. And that point are the stigmata. So, Here is how my theory goes. The concept of dreams, consciousness, and imaginary space are the same thing in quantum physics. The true form of a stigma is what we call a stigma space, which exists in imaginary space. This has been confirmed in chapter 28 when Durandal entered the Kaslana stigmata space by being thrown into imaginary space. My theory is that stigmata are a projection of the stigma space in a lower dimension in the form of the marks on people's bodies. An observation made by the false arrow during chapter 31 EX was that Honkai thinks in dreams, meaning that Honkai thinks in spaces similar to stigma spaces. I believe that stigmata are a technology meant to emulate Honkai's way of thinking. Of course, thinking in this case doesn't refer to literal thinking as you do right now, trying to understand this mess of a video. It's more like saying that Honkai can use imaginary space to project itself on our reality however it wants. That's why Herrschers can bend physical laws, because Honkai doesn't follow the classic physics of our world, but it can create its own set of laws through dreams. That's also why Teresa can devour dreams with Vishnu's powers. Vishnu can devour Honkai, and the dreams that people were put into during Project Stigma function in a similar manner to Honkai. So, essentially, by creating Stigmata, Mobius and Dr. May reverse engineered the Honkai, allowing humans to access and control it through Stigma spaces, which is basically a reverse projection of human consciousness on the imaginary tree. Does it make sense? Since stigma is a representation of consciousness on a higher dimension, it can also form an ideal version of a person as a stigma. An example of this is Veliona, an entity born from Cele stigma. As I studied more and more about quantum physics, I'm pretty sure that Veliona is not the previous era Herrscher of Death as many would think, but a projection of a perfect Zele from the stigmata space. Since Cele had a strong desire for protection, and because she was a stigma awakened, an ideal version of her that can protect herself was projected from her stigma and took the form of Veliona. Then we have the wheel of
I thought I had to sneeze.
the Kaslana stigma, who took the appearance of Kevin. It is important to note that the Wheel of Stigma is a manifestation of the entire Kaslana bloodline collective unconsciousness, not just Kevin. It took Kevin's form because, well, he is the most prominent figure in the bloodline and the biggest influence over the space itself. But the Wheel of Stigma could take many other forms, as we see in chapter 28. It seems that the aim of Project Stigma is to create stigma versions of people and then use the basic principle behind imaginary renormalization to swap them with people in the real world. You remember imaginary renormalization, right? I talked about it in a previous video about the imaginary tree. Basically, it's a type of space distortion that lets you swap reality with imaginary space. I don't really know how Word Serpent can pull it off at such a large scale, since from all we knew, only the Herrscher of the Void was able to do so, but it seems to have something to do with Hair's powers. Since the stigma space and reality will basically swap places, and humans will be swapped with their stigma versions, Honkai will naturally exist everywhere and in everybody, rendering the Herrscher of Finality incapable of manifesting anymore. But I will go into more details about Project Stigma in my next video. I believe that understanding how stigmata work is very important for the future of the plot. It's clear that Hoyo really likes to explore the realm of consciousness, aka the imaginary tree, in their games. Stigmata could give us a better understanding on the basics on which other Hoyo games like Genshin and Honkai Star Rail operate. What is Teyvat? Why are imaginary spaces, aka dreams, so important? Is Irminsul some kind of supercomputer from a higher dimension that can project data through imaginary spaces and create a false reality? And don't get me started on Star Rail. This could also help us better understand eons, which are essentially forms of consciousness that exist or ascended to a higher dimension and are projected into Honkai Star Rail's worlds through their paths. This is low-key the first instance in which Hoyo confirms that Honkai can literally be anything and that the form that we see in Honkai Impact 3rd is just one of many iterations it can take to these dreams that are later projected into different realities in lower dimensions.
I'ma be honest. I may have gotten a little bit lost in that video. That was a good video. I was a little too dumb for that one. When we got into like quantum physics and stuff, I was like, oh no. But learning more about the stigma and stigmata, yeah, interesting. And at the end there, I want to look more into Honkai Star Rail and Genshin as well at some point. I feel like that'd be cool. I keep saying that, but I never do. But yeah, interesting. Alright. Honkai Chronicles Herrscher of Reason. I believe this is this is a official upload.
断りの律者の物語は1952年の第一次崩壊から始まります。災害の中心で記憶喪失の少年が見つかり、天命に回収された後、律者と判明します。3年にもわたる苦しい実験をフールアルファとの文通で耐えてきた少年は、1955年、様々な研究所を経て、アインシュタインとテスラのいる第42実験室にやってきました。2人の科学者と出会い、少年は世界と自由を意味する名、ベルト・ジョイスを手に入れます。それからジョイスは短い平穏な日々を満喫しました。
So is Walt Joyce Walt? Or is that just his like...
2人の科学者と親しくなり、さらに玉鋼を探す旅で個性豊かな仲間たちと出会いました。
His first name or last
穏や
name?
かで温かな時間を知ったからこそ、逃れられない運命を前にした彼は、美しい世界を守ろうとしたのかもしれません。旅の終点で、ジョイス一行は第9の神の鍵、エデンの星を発見しますが、その後、エジソン実験室で事故が起こり、シュレーディンガーも崩壊に侵食されました。大事な人たちが危機に陥った時、ジョイスは覚悟を決め、体内の力に応え、守ることを選びました。崩壊に対する渇望を克服し、律者コアの中にある数十万の意識の残響に耳を傾け、律者コアを支配したジョイスは、現文明で人類のために戦う一人目の律者となりました。しかし、事件解決後、真の黒幕が現れます。ジョイスと文通していたフールアルファ、当時の天命主教オットー・アポカリプス。500年の闇に襲われても断りの律者は運命に屈せず、暴君の企みを壊しました。報復としてオットーはベルトのいる都市に崩壊分裂ミサイルを発射し、あらゆる脅威を排除しようとします。人々を守るため、命と引き換えにベルトは律者の力で町全体を守る盾を作りました。物語の最後にベルトの仲間たちは天命を出てネゲントロピーを作り、そして彼自身が断りの律者のコアを、人々を守る信念を後継者に渡しました。2人目の断りの律者はヨアヒム・ヨーです。1955年、ジョイスが命を懸けて守った町で、幼い彼は断りの律者のコアを受け継ぎました。一人の子供にとって人類を守る責任は重すぎます。迷い、逃げることもありましたが、外に出た彼は運命に立ち向かう人々や美しいもの、信念を知りました。ベルトの名にあるのは苦痛と重荷だけではない。そう気づいた彼は 美しい世界を守るため戦おうと決意します。
Oh.
その後
Oh,
の数
okay.
年間
What? Oh, yeah, wait, yeah, I heard. Okay, well, yeah, okay. So. Okay, so Welt Joyce is a separate character. Okay, I finally got there. I finally got there. I'll probably have maybe some more clarity in the comments, but so yeah, I remember seeing just to go back here. I remember seeing this earlier, this like scene here, in like earlier Honkai stuff. Like them two, I think he was like blurred out, so I guess he wasn't revealed quite yet. For what? Well, because it was Walt Yang.
外に出た彼は運命にベルトの名にあるのは普通と重荷だけではない。そう気づいた彼は
So are they related? Are they
美
like
しい世界を
brothers?
守るため戦おうと決意します。その後の数
I'm
十
sorry if
年
they
間
explained that. I missed
ベル
that.
ト・ヨーはネゲントロピーの名手になり
If they did.
信念を持つ仲間と共に世界のため戦い続けました。2000年の第二次崩壊時、ベルト・ヨーは断りの律者として人類を代表して崩壊に挑み、断りの律者の力を生かし人類の文明の武器を構築し、第二律者に打撃を与えました。しかし第二律者は月で神の施しを受けます。人類など神の前では些細な存在です。それでも仲間を、この世界を守るためにベルト・ヨーは何度も命を懸けて戦いました。彼が表しているのは律者コアにある30万の思想、人類の文明の積み重ねと輝きでした。2016年、崩壊を駆逐する方法を探すため海縁の目で実験したベルト・ヨーは量子の海にとらわれます。彼はあそこで全文明最強の戦士ケビンと遭遇したのです。いろいろな経験を経た戦士の意志は強固でした。現実に戻り人類の文明が崩壊を乗り越えられるよう最悪のやり方を使おうとする彼にベルト・ヨーは賛同できませんでした。断りの律者である彼が守ると決めたのは全力で生きる人々だからです。圧倒的な力を持つ全文明の戦士を前にし、ベルト・ヨーは現実の壁になることを選び、祝福を込め最後の試練を残しました。希望と信念を持つ後継者がやってくることを待ちながら。3人目の断りの律者はブローニャ在地区です。
Bronya. I
孤児
think
である少女
she's
は
the
傭
one.
兵生活を送っていました。
Bro-
2012年、カカリア孤児
Seems
院に
when
連れて
narrating,
行かれたブローニャ
perhaps.
は優しいゼーレと出会います。彼女のおかげで優しさを知った少女は守りたいと思うようになります。しかしその後、ブローニャを守るために自ら X 点実験に参加したゼーレは量子の海にとらわれます。実験に参加した少女はゼーレを助けられず、別れの際に再会の約束を交わします。それは少女の原動力となりました。2014年、第3次崩壊が発生した超空死でブローニャはキアナとメイに出会います。大変な暮らしの中、友情を育んだ3人は最高の仲間になりました。ブローニャはカカリアに与えられた任務を諦め、2人の仲間とその世界を守ると決めました。その後、姫子に誘われた3人はセイフレイヤに行き、崩壊と戦うバルキリーになります。セイフレイヤでの生活で少女の守りたいという心が大きくなり、彼女は仲間と共に美しい世界を守るために戦うと誓いました。2016年、デザイアジェムを探していた3人はそれを体内に入れられたウェンディを見つけましたが、 カカリアによって埋められたバイオチップがブローニャの意識を支配してしまいます。そのせいで彼女は心を開いたウェンディや信頼してくれたキアナとメイを傷つけました。大事な仲間を守るためにブローニャは
Omitted subtitles?
心を開いた
I remember this happened before. I watched
信
this.
頼してくれたキアナとメイを傷つけ
I
ました。
heard Kiana, but
大事な仲間を守るためにブローニャはバイオチップを壊し長い昏睡状態に陥ってしまいます。不可の助けにより夢の中で試練を受けたブローニャは逃げずに未来の人生で過去の過ちを否定すると決めました。しかしその後オットーの策によりキアナの中で空の律者の人格が目覚め、仲間を守るためにブローニャは迷わず戦場に向かいます。その時少女はアインシュタインからエデンの星を受け継ぎました。最終的に仲間と先生の愛はキアナの意識を呼び戻します。一方でエデンの星が意味するものをブローニャが知らなくてもベルトのようにエデンの星で仲間を守った時から少女の未来は断りの律者の精神とつながりました。2017年デザイアジェムを取り戻し友人を助けるため病死の海に入ったブローニャはベルト用の試練を受けます。
Bronya
善良さ
so well in this, yeah.
正直
So yeah, I think this is like early game stuff.
3つの世界で
They're going like this, like the full Bronya story. Well,
断りの
Herrscher reason, but she's the
律者
Herrscher.
のコアと同期し
Got
人
Herrscher
類
as
のため
well.
に戦う3人目の断りの律者になりました。同時に彼女はゼーレを助け最初の約束を果たします。断りの律者のコアを継いだブローニャはベルトの下で学びますが、ベルトの名を継ぐことはありませんでした。少女にとって2人のベルトの信念はあまりにも眩しかったのです。しかしその名がなくても少女なりに守る理念を形にしていました。そしてその頃世界が不安定になりました。2017年10月、何年も準備してきたオットーが聖女カレンの復活のため世界をリセットしようとしたのです。彼を阻止するために少女たちはカロスタンに集まりますが、オットーはすでに疑心の力を手にしていました。道を阻む約束の光幕を前にして少女は覚悟します。30万の思想に見守られながら断りの律者の使命を受け入れ、精神同調でその力を完全解放したブローニャは多くのムーンライトスローンを構築して道を切り開きました。彼女は断りの律者、その未来の道をようやく歩き始めました。カロスタンの事件の後、メイは古の楽園で13英傑と協力し神職の律者を倒します。そのため人類の文明が対峙する律者は最後の終焉のみとなりました。ヨルムンガンドを率いるケビンも成婚計画を始動させます。ヨルムンガンドの成婚計画は人類よりも文明を重んじる最悪の計画でした。バルキリーたちの前に立ちはだかるヨルムンガンドのウサギの正体は成婚の結晶ミステル・シャニアテ。一行にとってウサギはケビンの前に倒さなければならない相手ですが、少女にとってはそれだけではありませんでした。生まれながら呪いを持ち成婚計画を背負い無数の人生を転写するウサギの一部のあり方は断りの律者と似て非なるものです。だからこそ彼女はブローニが超えなければならない相手でした。好きで
we get the boss
断りの
fight.
律者の信念を背負った少女はウサギと対峙します。 尊敬すべきベルトの名、明記すべき30万の思想。しかし現在で勝つために過去の力に執着してはいけません。未来へと向かうためには断りの律者の伝承を背負う必要がありました。先輩の意志、仲間の信頼、多くの信念を集めた少女は真理の律者へと流化し、自分なりにネゲントロピーの精神を実現したブローニャ財地区になりました。真理の名のもとに少女は未来を切り開きます。
The Herrscher of Truth. That's a wallpaper and a half right there. The welts and then Bronya. That was really Honkai Chronicles. That was pretty good. And that was like the story of the Herrscher of Reason pretty well. Big story of Bronya as well. Yeah, that was a really good one. For as far as like summing up the story. And so now I know that like the welt, there were two welts. Two Welt Joyce and Welt Yang. Welt Yang is the one that I remember and know. Welt Joyce I think is the one that just now kind of sort of got a name, at least from the part of the story I'm seeing. Interesting, very interesting, very cool. I'll do one more video here because it has been a while, and we only did like 3 videos so far. I think it's just gonna be a little bit longer than normal. This was everything you need to know about Welt Yang before playing Honkai Star Rail. I think I've explained this before, but I have a friend that's in the Honkai Star Rail, so I actually played a little bit of Honkai Star Rail when I like was first getting like Honkai stuff. And I forget if I noticed Welt. I think I did notice Welt. I've noticed Welt and like Kimiko. I think no one else really some look similar, but not like 100% to some other characters.
If you never played Honkaiimpact before, you might be very confused as to why people lose their minds over this plain-looking grandpa that is seemingly obsessed with making anime and going on space adventures with a bunch of kids.
How do you do, fellow kids? What?
It's okay though, without knowing his backstory, well, comes out as a pretty strange guy. I even saw people saying that, and I quote, "He's ugly and I don't understand why would anyone want to play as him." And to that, I'll have to borrow a quote from a certain individual known as Jesus. "Forgive them, Father, for they do not know what they are doing," or saying in this case. So, let me get my glasses and let Grandpa Homolabs tell you youngsters a story. A story about a hero who saved Earth countless times. A man that endured insurmountable obstacles and managed to rise to the challenge every time, shouting in the face of adversity, "I am Welt of humanity and I stand against you, Dark Queen, as a warrior guardian of the human race." Okay, to be fair, his lines are a bit corny, but even so, you can't help but fangirl over this man whenever he appears. It is no surprise that Hoyoverse chose him to be the one character from Honkaiimpact 3rd to come over to Star Rail. We even have a meme in the Honkai community that Welt is just Dawei as a self-insert in the story. Anyway, here is everything you need to know about Welt Yang before you embark on your trailblazing journey with him. Joachim Nokian Vartanen, aka Welt Yang, is a character with a very long history. But before learning anything about his chadliness, we must learn about the man whose name he inherited, Welt Joyce. Throughout the
Okay,
history
yeah.
of human civilization, major Honkai incidents that lead to the deaths of thousands are referred to as Honkai eruptions. These are usually accompanied by the awakening of Herrschers, powerful beings that can bend physical laws. In 1952, the first Honkai eruption took place in Berlin and took the lives of 300,000 people. Amidst the ruins of the disaster, a young man that didn't have any memories of his past was wandering around. Due to a special property of the core of reason, the minds of the 300,000 deceased were absorbed into his Herrscher core and allowed the man to resist the influence of the Honkai, making it possible for him to become the first Herrscher that fights for humanity. He was eventually found by a secret organization that combats the Honkai, known as Schicksal. After years of experimentation, he was transferred to the Schicksal's London division, where he met Mophead and Lobster, Einstein and Tesla, for the first time. He also got to know a scientist by the name of Elias Nokian Vartanen. There, the man was treated with kindness and respect, and Einstein even chose a name for him, Welt, which is German for world, and Joyce, after the Irish author James Joyce. In the time spent there, Welt catches the eye of Elias's son, a small and shy boy by the name of Joachim. Alas, fate would soon turn its ugly gaze upon them. They discovered that Schicksal was hiding many secrets and that Otto Apocalypse, the current overseer of the organization and a professional clown, had more important plans than fighting the Honkai. They also discovered a weapon left by a previous civilization from 50,000 years ago known as the Previous Era that was wiped out by the Honkai. The weapon was called the Star of Eden, and it was made from the Herrscher core of the Previous Era Herrscher of Earth, who had the power to control gravity and sunk an entire continent under the ocean. From that day onwards, the Star of Eden became the signature weapon of the Herrscher of Reason. As things escalated, a confrontation between Ado and Welt's group was imminent. Ado killed Elias and took over the body of a Valkyrie named Rihanna, causing a lot of havoc. Joyce, with very little time, managed to take control of his powers and fought back. Ado, who was pushed into a corner, decided to blow up the entire city of New York to make sure that no one who knew his secrets will live. Joyce used his remaining powers to create a barrier and protect the city from the incoming nukes. He was successful, but the damage he sustained was too much for his body. In his last moments, Joyce entrusted his Herrscher core and name to the young Joachim, who lost both his father and his hero on that day. After those events, the Schicksal American branch renamed itself into Anti-Entropy, and Joachim, who now goes by the name Welt Yang, became the new sovereign of the organization.
So that's how that happened. Alright, that's very clear.
In the year 2000, the second eruption gave birth to the Herrscher of the Void in Siberia. The Herrscher was a girl named Sirin, who was a test subject in Schicksal's Babylon Tower. Anti-Entropy was forced to take action, and Welt engaged the Herrscher in a direct fight. He used all the might of human civilization to create a fleet of tanks, ships, aircrafts, and other weapons to stop Sirin. I think I should mention here that the Herrscher of Reason has the power to construct literally anything as long as the user has an understanding of that object's composition. Welt is almost victorious, but Ado disguised himself and stopped Welt from dealing the final blow because he needed the Herrscher's powers for his goal. Sirin escaped to the moon, where she got blessed with even more power from the Wheel of Honkai and challenged Welt to a final battle on the giant piece of cheese. Welt was like,
Challenge accepted.
but knowing that he cannot win, he planned to blow up his own Herrscher core and take out both himself and Sirin at the same time. In the end, he traveled to the moon together with Siegfried, one of Schicksal's knights, and Kiana Kaslana's father. Welt's plan ultimately failed and Sirin took his core before he can detonate it. Welt died, but in a true Sigma male fashion, he already had a plan in place even for this turn of events. Since the Herrscher of Reason's core can house human minds, he transferred his consciousness into the core right before his physical body died. Then, he waited for an opportunity to strike and used his powers to construct a new body for himself. With his intervention, the tides of the battle were turned against the Herrscher of the Void and humanity emerged victorious.
Alien space.
In the following years, Welt took up the role of a substitute teacher at a university in America. One of his students was Murata Himeko, a young girl interested in studying the stars and the galaxy. During that time, Himeko traveled to New Mexico to investigate some UFO sightings, and Welt accompanied her to keep her away from the truth, since those alleged UFO sightings were actually tests that anti-entropy was doing in the area. Himeko's father, Murata Ryusuke, was a Shixel researcher who ran away from Aro and sought help from anti-entropy. He discovered the existence of a small and fluffy alien species called the Sugars, and even befriended one of them named Peppermint. The Sugars were hiding on Earth from another alien civilization called the Sky People. The Sky People traveled another alien civilization called the Sky People.
The Earth is the ones above.
The Sky People traveled to different worlds to harvest Honkai energy, causing destruction in the process. In an attempt to combat one of Sky People's vanguard stones that was approaching Earth, Welt and Ryusuke boarded a rocket and flew into space. After dealing with it, Ryusuke suddenly started monologuing about humanity's potential and revealed his true intention. He wanted to steal Welt's Herrscher powers to fulfill his plan and free humanity from this planet. Ryusuke killed Peppermint and took over his powers. With some help from the Sugars, Welt defeated Ryusuke and put an end to his madness. The Sugars, although grateful to Welt for saving them, decided to leave this world since their existence has been discovered. Himeko, who was kept in the dark, gave up on her studies and joined Shixel as a Valkyrie to investigate what really happened to her father. Unlike Himeko, you don't have to join a secret military organization to learn more about the Honkai. All you need to do is subscribe to this channel and give this video a thumbs
smooth
up
with
if you
it.
enjoyed it. Thank you. Not much happens during this time. Welt is hiding and poses as a teacher at Saint Freya, a Valkyrie school built by Teresa Apocalypse in the Far East. In the meantime, Kokolia, another anti-entropy agent, tries to take advantage of Welt's absence and take over the organization using a clone of Welt, Joyce. In the end, Welt reveals his identity and easily defeats the clone created by Kokolia, proving that no fake can ever match him.
Honkaiimpact 3rd.
In the events of the game, Welt and Einstein made multiple experiments involving the Sea of Quanta, which is this strange dimension that exists in between different worlds. One day, they come into contact with a powerful entity known as the Serpent, who wanted to escape into reality. To prevent that, Welt sealed himself inside the Sea of Quanta to make sure that the Serpent will not escape. After the reawakening of the Herrscher of the Void, Kokolia and her forces retreated to the Deep End, an underwater city left behind by the people of the previous era. There, they were attacked by Shixel forces, and left without options, Kokolia asked Teresa, Einstein and Tesla for help. After a big turn of events, Bronya ends up jumping into the Sea of Quanta and meets Joachim, a kid version of Welt who has prepared a set of trials for her. After Bronya cleared them, Joachim deemed her as a worthy successor to the Herrscher of Reason's powers and passed the core to her. They eventually meet the Serpent, who turned out to be Kevin Kaslana, one of the heroes of the previous era who fought the Honkai 50,000 years ago. Bronya was quickly defeated, but Welt, who stored his consciousness inside the core again, recreates his body and saves her. In the end, they were unable to stop the Serpent's escape, but managed to safely return to reality. Welt wants to let Bronya take over the core of Reason and offers to teach her how to use the Herrscher of Reason's powers properly. After the Honkai was sealed on the moon, Welt opened up an animation studio where he worked on multiple projects, the most notable one being Arahato, a mecha anime that he started a few decades ago to get some funding for anti-entropy. One day, Shikso sent a squad formed by Raiden Mei.
Wait, was it? It was after wasn't May or not May? Didn't Bronya like make Honkai or something? Like he's an animator as well. As far.
One day, Shikso sent a squad formed by Raiden Mei, Carol Peppers, and Mr. Paycheck to Saint Fontaine. Their mission was to find and rescue Welt, who disappeared in the city a few days prior. Saint Fontaine was facing an unprecedented crisis, and instead of humans, the city was full of strange mechanical creatures that turned out to be the Sky People, who were brought to Earth by Void Archives, a sentient divine key from the previous era, to get rid of the Honkai on the moon. I know, it sounds really complicated, but don't beat your head around it too much. After they've dealt with the threat of the Sky People, Welt and Void Archives infiltrated one of the Sky People's spaceships. There, they found out that the Sky People are targeting Himeko, but not Himeko from Honkaiimpact that Welt knew. Instead, it's another Himeko from a different world, Honkai Star Rail Himeko. Being the hero that he is, Welt wanted to save her, but first somebody needed to save him from the Sky People's ship. Luckily, the Sugars were nearby, and they didn't forget Welt's kindness, so they saved and brought both him and Void Archives back to Earth. From there, we don't really know how Welt made it to Himeko and the Astral Express. We only have this dialogue from Himeko in which she says that she found Welt and his friend, who is most likely Void Archives since they refer to him as a he, while visiting a world called Salsoto in a mission from Herrscher to look for a material called Candace Glass. Most likely, after returning to Earth, Welt found a way to travel to Himeko's world, and since then he's been stuck on the Astral Express searching for a way back home. Thankfully, his spirit and youthful vigor haven't changed, and now he enjoys a new set of adventures through the galaxy while guiding a new generation of youngsters on their journey. I mean, it's not like he has a wife and a child waiting for him back home. Oh wait, I guess you could say that he really went to buy some milk.
That's crazy. Him and Tesla, I think Tesla. And Einstein's the not green, but like the blue-haired one. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that was Tesla. Interesting. I know that they ended up together, but that was a really good video as well about Welt Yang. So okay, so I know so Welt Joyce was the original, and then he passed down his name to Welt. So okay, and yeah, I don't know. I think I kind of just assumed or seen some things, or like I don't know. Wait, there's something to me. He kind of like looks like a little bit in a way. He kind of looks like Aizen from Bleach. I don't know if that's just me or not, or if you know, you know. If you don't, I recommend watching Bleach. It's very, very good anime. But I don't know. I for some reason I always I kind of had this idea in my head that Welt, there was a little bit of villainous in him as well, or maybe some morally gray stuff. I don't know. I think it's between like his got Otto and Kevin, and I don't know. It just seems like there was something there, but I guess he was more of a hero character. Unless there was there's something that I forgot or that didn't get over. But from what I've heard there, it didn't seem like there was anything really like bad. But yeah, interesting. Walt seems pretty cool. Good to learn more information about him. And learned about the Welt Joyce thing, everything, and the Herrscher reason. And yeah, more stuff a little bit about like the Moon era. This was a good reaction. Sorry that I wasn't saying too much throughout it. I don't really like when that happens, but sometimes, like I say, just kind of like just kind of vibe and learn, especially when we have the ones like when we talk about quantum physics and everything. You know, it's like, ooh, I may have to lock in to pay attention to make sure we, you know, I get that, make it, and sometimes I still get a little lost, but yeah, that's gonna do it for this time. Next time we'll be back on this, and if you missed it, we got caught up again with the character battlesuit thing. I forgot, I didn't check the comments on that video yet, so I don't know if there's gonna be something like, actually you have to watch this, but barring anything like that, I am right now I'm caught up with it. So yeah, well, we'll be back. We just got this for right now. Like I said, I think about doing some other Honkai stuff as well. I have some other things on the back burner, so stay tuned for that. For now though, guys, that is going to do it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like or dislike, subscribe or don't subscribe. You know, it's always up to you. I will see you guys in the next video you watch of me. Good boy.